Hey everyone, this is Michael for Home Grace Bible Study. This is my beautiful mother.
Thank you.
We're back after being away for more than a month. The previous Bible study was November 8th. And since then I've been sick.
Your dad?
My dad's been sick. This past Thursday we went to a holiday dinner. It was very delicious. We're back now, and this is December 13th, 2018. Yes, the year is coming to a close.
Unbelievable.
And this week we have a Bible study called The Gospel Story, What It Isn't. Now, if you're new here, please do subscribe. Smack that notification bell so hopefully you can be notified each time a new video is uploaded. I know YouTube is problematic and they does not always notify people when new videos are uploaded that are subscribed. So please do comment below this video so we know that you've seen it and enjoyed it. And if you do enjoy this, please do share it with others so they can be edified by it as well. Now we read from the King James text, so that's what you need to have too in order to follow along. We'll be starting out from what's known as the four Gospels, but that's only because they're referred to that in the book as the Gospel of Mark, the Gospel of Luke, and so on. We're going to be starting at Matthew chapter 26, verse 2, and then Mom was going to skip down to Matthew chapter 27. We're going to be reading just necessary verses, and they'll be in context, but they're ones that we want to concentrate on for this Bible study.
Okay.
Matthew chapter 26, starting at verse 2.
Okay. Yet know that after 2 days is the first of feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
Then skip chapter 27.
Pilate saith unto them, What shall I do? What shall I do then with Jesus, which is called the Christ? They all said to him, Let him be crucified. And the governor said, Why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, and saying, Let him be crucified. They weren't going to have any discussion or have their minds changed. They wanted him crucified.
And part of the gospel story is that Jesus Christ was to be crucified. But before that, he was betrayed unto those that would crucify him. So, there's more to this story than what people would normally attribute to it, I believe. And, with any story, there's a beginning, a middle, and then an end. And so for our purposes, we're going to just show what it isn't. And the gospel story isn't that he was betrayed, but that's part of what led up to the gospel story. Alright, next is the book of Mark. no, excuse me, also Matthew 27, verse
26.
26. My bad. I think there's another one in Matthew after that.
I believe so. Yes, then 35. Matthew 27, 35. Next.
Okay.
And this is 27, 26.
Okay, so we're just skipping around today because we want to focus on what's important for
Did
this
you
Bible
want me
study.
to read those two?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Then, then released he Barabbas unto them,
Mm-hmm.
and when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. Now they let one go,
Mm-hmm.
and the people could have said, let Jesus go.
But
They said, release Barabbas.
yeah,
They wanted Jesus crucified.
not only was Judas Iscariot the one who betrayed him, but then he gets treated like this.
Mm-hmm.
So this here in verse 26 is also part of the gospel story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then the next one is verse 35.
Okay. And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots. There's a light on my paper, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That it might be fulfilled what was spoken of by the prophet, that they parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture, and they cast lots.
So not only was Jesus betrayed, and then Barabbas, a known criminal,
Yes.
was released instead of him.
Yep.
Then the soldiers, they gamble to see who's going to get his clothes.
Yeah.
So this is part of the wonderful gospel story. Okay, now I think we move on to the book of Mark.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh. Mark 15, 15. I think so it says.
Yes, Mark 15, verse 15.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to read it? No?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Mark 15, verse 15. And so Pilate, willing to content the people, released Barabbas unto them, and delivered Jesus when he had scourged him to be crucified. So this is this is what also was recorded in the book of Matthew. And the next verses are verses 24 and 25, same chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Get down to verses 24 and 25, Mark 15. And when they had crucified him, they parted his garments, casting lots upon him what every man should take. And it was the third hour, and they crucified him. So, just before, I believe, Jesus was crucified, they took his clothes and they gambled to see who was going to get him.
Yeah.
And before that, Barabbas was released while he was hanging there on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up is verse 31. Oh yes, it gets even better, ladies and gentlemen. This wonderful gospel story. Okay, so verses 31 to 32 and 33.
Mm-hmm. Ready together.
All right. Verses 31 to 33. Same chapter, Mark 15. Likewise, also the chief priests, mocking, said among themselves, they were probably whispering,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully so they wouldn't be heard. With the scribes, said among themselves, with the scribes. So I think that was basically the Pharisees and the Sadducees together.
Uh-huh.
He saved others. Himself, he cannot save. Like, thinking, what kind of Messiah is this? Can't even help himself.
I think.
Verse 32. The mocking continues. Let Christ, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross, that we may see and believe. And they that were crucified with him reviled him. Verse 33. And when the 6th hour was come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And so we have Jesus betrayed, Barabbas released before him, gambling for his clothes, mocking him by the chief religious order.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Those who people would generally look up to and respect. So this is the real gospel story. This is what leads up to the crucifixion. And, they mocked him twice. So, when you think of Christmas, let these images enter your mind of what actually happened to Christ before he got there to the cross. Okay, next we have verses from the book of Luke, I think.
I don't know. It says 33, and we just read it through.
Yeah, it's a reference down on the next page.
Okay.
Yeah, Luke 23.
Okay. Luke chapter 23,
Yeah.
verse 33. And when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right and one on the left. Now those were the thieves.
Yes, the
Crucified all three of them together. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. Now that's been in Matthew, Mark, now in Luke. The same thing.
The gamble.
Mm-hmm. And the people stood beholding, and the ruler also with them declared him, derided him, saying, he saved others. Let him save himself, if he be Christ, the Son of God,
the chosen
of God.
So
that's mocking.
that is mocking. And you see the issue here is they did not know why Christ was crucified and why he rose from the dead. But that's not revealed till Apostle Paul comes along. Because Jesus Christ said, right there in verse 34, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. They had no inclination, they had no inkling of what they were doing or why they were doing it, because they did not understand.
They knew they were killing you.
No, they
didn't know the ramifications of it. You know, I think that's what he meant, don't you?
Yes, that's true. And then there's I think next is verses from John chapter 19. So skip over to John chapter 19. And I'm almost there.
Okay.
Verses 22 to 23.
Okay. All right.
Okay. John chapter 19, verses 22 to 23. And this is very similar to what you've previously heard in the other 3 books. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. And he's referring to writing on the parchment that, here is Christ, King of the Jews. And verse 23 says, Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. That's also the gambling for his clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the true gospel story is not Jesus Christ dying dying in general. The true gospel story is what Paul gave to us. That Jesus Christ died for our sins. He was buried and rose again, as it says in verses 1 through 4 of 1 Corinthians 15. Everything that we have just previously read in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John leads up to this. This is the true, the gospel is the true gospel story. 1 Corinthians 15 verses 1 through 4. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also ye have received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if you keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain. Verse 3. For I delivered unto you, first of all, that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures. Okay, where is it in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John that it says he died for our sins? I have never seen that in any one of those. Oh,
I have no idea.
It's in there that he died, yes, of course. And then verse 4, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the 3rd day, according to the Scriptures. That's there as well, that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day. But it's not in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John that he died for our sins. He died because he was declared a criminal. He was declared a blasphemer, a heretic.
Even though he said over and over and over that he was the Son of God. He was their Messiah. And they rejected that. They didn't believe it.
The real reason that Christ died in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is because they declared him guilty.
Right.
Of being, like I said, a blasphemer, a heretic, a criminal. They declared him to be a criminal. But
he said, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do, he meant they don't realize what they're doing.
Yet they would probably suffer the ultimate penalty for doing that if they never realized the truth.
Right.
Most likely. And we can only hope that those people who put him there on the cross did realize eventually what happened. I think some may have and some may not have. I'm not for sure. But the main focus here today, ladies and gentlemen, that I want to present unto you is that Jesus Christ was crucified in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John because he was declared a criminal, a heretic, a blasphemer, not because he was dying for the sins of all humanity. The real gospel story is what's found in Matthew. Is what's found in 1 Corinthians 15 verses 1 through 4. Yes, he died, but the reasons in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are vastly different than the actual gospel. So, yeah, the gospel story can be found in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but it's a brutal story. It's a bloody story. We didn't even go over how he was scourged, and that alone is pretty gory too. But he is divine, so he could handle it. He was in human flesh, so he did bleed, but he could handle it.
And nobody else, no other person or thing or whatever, could make the sacrifice he made, because he was pure, divine, holy, spotless, blameless, sinless. If he hadn't done that,
exactly,
we could not receive salvation.
Right.
So praise God, he did it.
We would not have the chance to be saved if he wasn't who he said he was. And I firmly believe Christ was who he said he was.
I do too.
So we really enjoyed this time together, and we thank you for joining us. If you ever have any prayer requests, you can always post them on or you can send me a message on our Facebook page called Home Grace Bible Study. And we'll pray for you. You don't need to tell us the details. You can just say, hey, I need prayer, and we'll pray for you. Because the Lord knows the details. He's all-knowing. He's all-powerful. He knows the details. We don't need to know. And there is not a soul alive that does not need some type of prayer for something every day. I firmly believe that.
And especially in this time of the year, people need each other. And I think the greatest gift you can give anybody is your time.
Yes,
a phone call, a card, drop by, invite them to go out to lunch, or just, anything you can do to give somebody part of yourself. Give them your time, attention, because there are a lot of people that live alone and that don't have transportation or that can't drive, and they just don't see a lot of people. Take them some cookies. You don't even have to bake them if you buy them in the store. Just take them a baggie with some cookies in them, and just let them know that you're thinking about them and that you care.
Exactly. I totally agree. That's excellent points. We thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this Bible study, we ask that you please give it a thumbs up.
Yes.
And if you have more than one YouTube account, give it 2 thumbs up. Because we're just a small channel, And If you did enjoy this Bible study, please share it with others so they can be edified by it as well, and hopefully give us some thumbs up.
Yep. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
And don't forget to leave your comments down below. I'm Michael for Home Grace Bible Study. This is my beautiful mother.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Y'all have a great week.